What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR and Bitcoin, looking at different charts and indicators. So today we had earnings, turned out pretty well. As you can see, we got the green arrow down here. MSTR ended up having $14 billion in unrealized gains in Bitcoin, which is pretty awesome. They're holding 628,791 Bitcoin as of June 30th at a cost basis of 73,300 per Bitcoin. We also do have pretty solid news with their guidance for MSTR now. So anytime the MNAV is sitting at 2.5 or below, Strategy will not issue common equity below that threshold. So that's a pretty positive sign. And then from 2.5 to 4, Strategy will issue common equity to acquire Bitcoin. And then anything above a 4 MNAV, Strategy will actively issue common equity to acquire Bitcoin. It seems like MSTR or Strategy is planning on being more strategic on acquiring Bitcoin with the common issuance between 2.5 to 4, and then they're going to really just go after it. Once you're at a 4 MNAV or higher, they're really going to start issuing it like a madman. So that's kind of how I'm understanding it. So here on technical analysis now, you can see we're at this key point where we're at this upward sloping trend line. We got our bounce off of it on the weekly. It looks like we're trying to survive. We do have tomorrow. We'll see where it takes us. We are down a little bit in after hours. Last time I saw it was at like 395. When you look on the daily, we have this downward sloping trend line that's been established since July 17th. You can see it had a couple touches. We had another touch here, and then we pushed up and got rejected earlier in the day prior to earnings, and then we started to fall off after hours just slightly, and then we pushed down to 395 after hours, like I said. So the momentum is pushing downward right now. We'll see if it continues or if we can break out of this downward sloping trend line. If we were to break out of this downward sloping trend line, I could see us breaking if we close, see us getting this retest and potentially bouncing off of it. We'd be bouncing off this downward sloping trend line, which would be in confluence with this upward sloping trend line, along with this golden zone. So that should be a lot of support underneath price right here at this region. And it should allow price to push up higher. Of course, it doesn't have to play out. Like I said, we also could see a move where we continue on down and we continue the trend and continue seeing lower prices. Either one is still in play. There's no guaranteed answer, As you can see, the past 3 weeks have been red weeks, so we kind of given up all of the gains that we've seen here. When we pull a fib on the smaller time frame, you can see that we bounce off the 618. Let me take this off, clean it up a little bit. You can see off of this level here that we bounce off the 618, and we got our bounce currently. We'll see if we can close above the 0.5 and continue that move higher. That would be incredibly bullish for the price. If we lose our large golden zone to the downside, like we've been talking about, that'll increase our odds of pushing down to lower prices, potentially touching the 382, and that would potentially put us underneath the 0.5 and this downward sloping trend line along with the upward sloping trend line. So we definitely don't want to lose our upward sloping trend line that we've had established for a very long time. That might not be the best sign if we lose that. It doesn't mean that the world is over, but it could be some kind of short-term pain before we see some kind of upside here on MSTR. When we look at the SMA here on MSTR, we are slowly getting closer to it. It's currently sitting at 370, and price has made it down to about 388, 389. So we'll see if we actually make contact with it, and that's where we get our bounce, or if we can hold support off of this golden zone in confluence with these trend lines. Ideally, that would be the best case scenario. I'll be keeping you guys updated on these videos as we proceed through the whole process. We were talking about, after breaking the 20, of retesting the 20 and potentially pushing down to 50. Looks like we did that, and then we pushed underneath our 50, but luckily we closed back above it. So that's a nice sign. So at least we have the 50 on the daily holding up price, because the past 2 days were closed underneath it which were increasing the odds of us continuing that trend downward. When we look at global liquidity, it is still indicating higher prices. For how much longer, not too sure. I wonder where we're at in the cycle. We could potentially be in this pullback before climbing higher and then potentially seeing a large spike and then that cool off period. But we don't truly know where we're at within this liquidity cycle. We have been seeing it cool down as the dollar has been creeping, which we'll go over further deeper into this video. But you can see global liquidity has been cooling down because of that dollar rising, and that is putting some kind of a effect on Bitcoin. This downturn could be a future effect for Bitcoin and MSTR, and maybe this cool off period is what's actually affecting this now. On the 8-week EMA, you can see that we have found support off of it and we wicked off of it. It's also been holding price up as well. So we do have a lot of confluence, like I said, underneath price, which is a good sign. And on the daily, we've actually been using it as resistance and it's been pushing price down and it's kind of just been suppressing price along the way. Hopefully we can break it, like I said, break that downward sloping trend line and start to push up higher. On the weekly RSI, we have fallen underneath our yellow moving average. Hopefully we can reclaim that. But we are still holding above the 50 line, so we're still sitting at 58, so we're still in bullish territory. This is still kind of like a large bull flag. So we'll see if we can start to reclaim the yellow moving average and start to make our way up here on the weekly RSI. On the daily RSI, it looks like we are trying to find a bottom potentially, and it is trying to creep up a little bit. We'll see if this can continue or if this is just a short-term move to continue the move down. As you can see, we have this downtrend established that it looks like we're trying to break out of. We'll see if it's a true breakout in a little bit, but we're still underneath the 50 line, which is the midline. So we're still in bearish territory at the moment. Hopefully we can fight our way back up to the yellow moving average and reclaim that. On the daily MACD, we are almost back in bearish territory. We're still holding in bullish territory at the moment, but we are starting to see a little bit of volume decreasing on the bearish side and slowly creeping back down. So we'll see if we can start to get this push all the way back down and get a green flip eventually, but that's going to take some time because this is a daily chart. When we look at Bitcoin, you can see it has had a nice move. We got rejection, kind of got some bounces off of here, and now are we potentially retesting this level or are we going to lose this? I do think if we lose that 114 and we get a solid close underneath, for instance, if we get a weekly close or a daily close, that is going to open up the idea of us pushing down to the next target. That target would be sitting at that 110 to a 111 mark. We were talking about that over here, but we haven't had any solid closes until now. So now that we've closed outside of the bullish pennant, we could retest that level and push down further, but we still are holding a nice level of support. So we're still in a good position for now. Like I said, if we get a daily close or a weekly close underneath this wick, I think that's going to increase the likelihood of us seeing a clean move down. As you can see, the clean candle right here. So that would probably take price down pretty quick if it were to catch that momentum to the downside. So it does make me wonder if this isn't a bull pennant. Or maybe it is a bull pennant that's getting invalidated, or if it's just a bull flag. Remember, there's always things that are subject to change. Like I said, nothing's exact in these markets, but if you were to draw it something like that, you can see that it's still in play. If this is a bull flag, we don't really know. I'm just giving you different perspectives. So you could see that on the bull pennant, it's starting to become invalidated, especially if we lose this wick here. If you're drawing a bull flag, then you're still in a good spot, and that measured move still takes you to higher targets. So, like we've already said previously, if you take it from here, we'll take the more conservative target, and we take it up higher. You're sitting at like 127. If you take it all the way to the wick, I think it's like at 130 or something like that. So that is still indicating higher prices. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I still think we could see higher targets, especially past 123, maybe to the midline before getting another cool down period. That's just my take. Of course, don't take it as gospel. I'm more than likely going to be wrong. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where things are going. I wish I did. Tether dominance is rallying up higher, as you can see here on the weekly. This thing is trying to break through this level. We need to find some rejection. We still have 3 days, so we have time to get a little bit of a wick to push back down And once we get that push back down, then we'll get a nice move back on Bitcoin, back to the upside. But currently here on the daily, this is looking pretty bearish for Bitcoin. As you can see, we close within the wicks here. So we're back inside of this level and we're playing above these wicks. So once we break this wick at 447 and that 449 one, if we can hold that on a close, that's going to open up the likelihood of us pushing up higher to this 460 to about 466 region. And if that were to happen, then you're more than likely going to see a pretty large drop on Bitcoin. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but these will probably line up. When Bitcoin has a significant drop, Tether Dominance is probably going to be breaking this wick and pushing higher, I would imagine. Tether Dominance has used the 20-day SMA as support. As you can see, it closed and bounced off of it, and now it's pushing up higher, trying to make it to its 50. Hopefully it doesn't make it to the 50, because if it does, that's going to result in a large drop in Bitcoin. But it is trying to make its way to the 200 4-hour SMA. So maybe more than likely we'll find resistance off of there. Last time we were at the 200, you can see that we did find rejection and we got a pretty large drawdown, which resulted in a large spike on Bitcoin. And as we spoke about, the dollar finding its bounce off of that key level, you can see global liquidity is falling because of it. Global liquidity is the yellow. You can see global liquidity is dropping as the dollar is rising because they're inversely correlated. Like I already said previously, this has been a long-term trend line all the way back from 08. You can see we've held it pretty strong. So we were bearish on the dollar, but we did say that there's a possibility of us flipping around, and it looks like that's exactly what we're getting. So it looks like it's a break, retest, and pushing higher. We'll see if this key level here finds a little bit of rejection and the dollar starts to fall back down to retest these levels, or if it absolutely breaks right through and continues higher. We'll see where it plays out. If we get a close above this level and this wick, that should open up higher targets on the dollar to maybe 103 to 104. We'll see, of course. Short and quick video for you guys today. Pretty busy at work. Make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe. I always appreciate your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.